evening. There we go. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a special edition of the Golden Broom Show. Boys, it's good to talk some baseball again, man. I'm super excited. We've got all this pretty stuff now. I mean, season 2 is going to be lit, man. Of course. I mean, look, if you've been following us, if you've been following what we've been doing during football, we have the same type of banner down below. Please like, follow, share this broadcast with your family, friends, even your enemies. The Golden Broom Podcast. You can follow us on Facebook at College Baseball Dogs. You can find that page there. And then follow us on TikTok. It's now Golden Media Sports. And then you can email us at the goldenbootpodcast.com or at gmail.com, not .com. Let's get this thing kicked off, boys. I'm excited. We'll welcome again to a special edition, a little preview, so to speak, of the Golden Broom Show. Guys, what are you most excited about this upcoming baseball season?
Well, I can tell you I'm most excited to have a different intro video.
Man. Yeah, well, hey, look, this is why we do these things. We kind of get the cobwebs kicked up.
I got to interrupt you right now.
What?
The legend is here.
Oh my goodness, Jody Robinson! Sure. What is going on, Mr. Jody? We have missed you, my friend, Mr. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited.
Our favorite guest we ever had. Hopefully become our co-host. He's the man, the myth, the legend, the national champion.
Mr. Jody Robinson. Love it. What's going on, Jody? Man, we're excited to just talk a little bit of baseball, a little preview, so to speak. And we got some pretty salty guests lined up tonight. We're going to talk here in just a minute to Mr. Dominick Croseto. Talk a little Sunbelt baseball. Oh man, already with the questions. Who wins Omaha this season? I'm going with Arkansas. Time for DVH to end the curse. Man, Jeremy, I certainly hope so. You've no idea.
Jeremy's on crack tonight.
Anyway, Cody, what are you looking for in this baseball season?
Man, I am looking for a lot of excitement this year. LSU finally gets where they need to be.
Yeah.
As you know, I love Jay Johnson. I loved Jay Johnson before the season last year. I fully believed in everything he had, and he came through for me. And that Tiger team from last year, I feel like I get to boast on this one. They played their tails off in Omaha. They beat Wake Forest twice, who everybody thought was the favorite to take it all, which, hey, great squad, so totally understood that. I'm ready to see Vanderbilt make that next step this year. I really believe they will. I think Arkansas is in the same position. I think Tennessee is going to be very strong this year. I think the one team to really watch out for, though, is Texas A&M, because they're the portal kings. They just, for some reason, they just make it happen. And the fact that they got the best player that was in the portal with Braden Montgomery coming from Stanford, which blew my mind. But then I found out his girlfriend left LSU, went to the state of Texas. Makes a lot of sense.
Right.
And also, I'm pretty sure his parents didn't care for LSU for some reason.
Yeah.
So makes a lot of sense. And I'm very excited. I think that the big thing to watch out for this year, though, is this is the first year where we're really going to see a full transfer portal in effect. You've seen how college football has played out so far this year. It's been a very weird season. I can only imagine what that's going to do in the baseball world.
Oh, I am 100% with you. I'm ready to see if the Twilight Zone is finally ended with sports this year. Chris, and I didn't even introduce you guys. My God, I guess I'm new to this whole thing. My name is George. If you follow us on the boot, we follow. We do college football. You can find me on the Real Hog Fan on Twitter. Jay Johnson's Towboy, Cody, the LSU 2023 national champs in the building. And then we have Mr. Propellerhead, the legend. I love the graphic behind you, Chris. What are you expecting this season?
I I think a lot of it depends on the health of Carter Holton.
Yeah.
We saw that he couldn't finish the season last year due to injury.
Yeah.
I'm anxious to see Devin Futrell take that next step.
Absolutely.
And who do we have to replace the legend himself, Enrique Bradfield Jr.?
Yeah. Right.
So,
right.
You don't miss that guy. There's no.
So I do like what I saw yesterday in our inter-squad game. Looks like we got somebody with just as much speed. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Hey, let me see the shirt, Chris.
Show
the shirt. Show the shirt.
Show the shirt. Oh,
yeah.
nice.
I do like that a lot.
I got the olive drab, our Sunday uniform.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Love it.
Uniform baseball. I don't care what anyone says.
Well, as we stated earlier, we have some special guests tonight. I'm going to go ahead and bring in Mr. Dominick Croseto from Sunbelt Syndicate. And let me get him up here on the screen. If it'll click. There we go. What's going on, Dominick? How are you, my friend?
I'm very good. I'm very good. Excited to talk a little baseball. I mean, it feels like basketball season's right around the corner, and then we're going to be, right into baseball before that's even over, obviously. So, yeah. It's ramping up.
I am excited about it too, my friend. The biggest thing I want to ask, just as I ask Chris and Cody, what are you expecting to see out of Sunbelt baseball this season?
Yeah, so last season we had our top 5 teams: Coastal Carolina, Southern Miss, Troy, Louisiana, and Texas State. I honestly don't see a ton of difference there at the top. I think, there's going to be those middle teams that kind of didn't finish exactly where they wanted to, just a handful of games either way. Could have really changed their season. But I think as far as the perennials that you expect to be there and should be there and have the talent to be there and have the recruiting to get back to there, I think you're going to see pretty much the same 5 teams battling for the top spots. So that's the easy answer. That's the quick, easy answer. But there could be some things that it changed overall for some of the teams within the conference. We do have to note that Marshall Thundering Herd had a pretty horrific season in their first season in the Sun Belt last year. However, they didn't play any home games because they didn't have a home to play at. So they will have a brand new facility, which will be exciting for especially them and their fans, but hopefully for the rest of the Sun Belt to also go and experience some of those games up there in Huntington. Yeah.
And I love Jeremy's. Let me see App State take the Sun Belt. What is there a heightened expectation in App State baseball? Do you know, portal? Have they got some portal pickups? I'm not asking you specific names, but what are the expectations?
I can speak a little bit better onto last year. I know they got the portal to be in their favor, grabbing a couple guys from East Carolina, which you obviously know historically has a very good baseball program, one that's much better than what Appalachian State has traditionally put onto the field, unfortunately.
Sure.
Just as with a couple northern teams, even though App State geographically is located in North Carolina, obviously it's in the mountains for those people that don't know that. So it is hard to recruit to a non-baseball destination. You're playing on a turf field. It's not natural grass. Their first 3 weeks are always on the road because it's literally snow, sleet, and ice with really crazy winds typically when baseball season starts. So most of the Sun Belt has an advantage hosting some of these bigger Power 5, football programs to come down from the Big Ten and the ACC that are up in the colder areas because the Sun Belt starts off in that warmer climate. James Madison, James Madison, Marshall, and App State really aren't in that. They're up in the mountains, so they're going to be a little bit colder. However, like I said, they got some guys from ECU last year. I haven't completely dived in quite to transfer portal stuff. Like you guys say, it's going to be a full-fledged difference. We've seen what it's done to football. Cody was talking about that. Baseball, we're going to see what it does. I think there's still probably an outlook of mostly middle of the pack for them, to be honest. But, again, a handful of games. They finished 30-25 overall last year. So they had a winning record. They had some games they shouldn't have lost, and they probably had a few that they shouldn't have won, really, which they had a pretty decent run in the Sun Belt Conference tournament. So They could be a surprise. Yeah, I mean, they're on the short list for guys who could jump up into those top few positions if somebody else slips up.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, it begs to know if we will see a new Sunbelt champion this year. Because I mean, baseball was pretty good with the Sunbelt. I mean, you guys competed in quite a bit of games. Take us back to last year. Do you remember a game that stood out to you that was just like like the staple of Sunbelt baseball?
I got a couple. So the top 5 teams, as we mentioned earlier, had wins over Wake Forest, Tennessee, Auburn, LSU, and TCU. So again, there's kind of the power at the top there. We even had Southern Miss, who went on to Super Regionals, obviously, take a 3-0 sweep of Dallas Baptist early in the season. So, the only question mark you really have there is they've lost their longtime coach, Scott Berry, to retirement. So what does that mean for them, right? I think if I remember correctly, they're keeping a coach that's already been within the program. So it's kind of like that traditional, keep their tradition and the culture the same. It's not like they're going to come in and have somebody try and change it all. So yeah, I think the hallmark for them is some of those big victories coming more repetitively. I named a couple big wins there, but they were still just 5-16 overall versus the SEC. Which obviously you guys know very well. So, I mean, it's not something to hang your hat on. They were even worse against the ACC. They were 4-18. So these are the types of conferences that they're hoping to compete with. A little bit better against the Big 12. They went 4-7. So a little bit more even there. And then they were mostly dominant against most of the lower tier conferences overall, 14-6 over the Conference USA, 13-9 versus the American. So they had some quality opponents that they faced. They took care of business in some of those games. I think what they want to look at for a conference is hopefully just have more of those big wins to hang their hats on.
Well, Chris, Cody, y'all got anything?
So I got to ask, what in your opinion is it going to take for ECU to take that next step? They always make it super regionals. They're always a threat to make it to Omaha. What's it going to take for them to get over that hump, get into Nebraska, and make a deeper run than what they normally do?
Well, no one in the Sun Belt wants to see ECU do any damn thing, but they are an American team, but there are quite a few teams in the Sun Belt who have them scheduled. You've got, I think they did a home and home with ODU last year. They usually try and do something with App State, even though geographically, again, both located in North Carolina, they're like 6+ hours apart. So it's not really a close game. They may even do some kind of neutral site because it kind of makes sense to kind of meet in the middle, which could be right around where I'm at in Durham. They did play, App State played Duke. So it's not impossible, but ECU is definitely kind of one of the class of North Carolina when it comes to baseball. Obviously, Campbell's up there as well. I don't know. It's just Campbell being a small private school that has a ton of money, I guess. I don't know how they get all these baseball players. And I think we kind of touched on this last year when you guys had me on previously as well. But they've got some baseball players from like outside the country even, which, not a whole lot of other rosters have a lot of that. So it's an interesting pull that they're able to do. The ECU not being a Sun Belt team, I can't give you a better answer than that. But
okay.
Yeah.
But hey, maybe you're onto something because there's a lot of people in the Sun Belt who would like to see ECU come over, and that's not a dream necessarily. I think that's a very real possibility with where they're at for football and the American with the contracts and the money coming across right now. I don't think that's probably realistic in the next 1 or 2 years. But with the Sun Belt coming up in football overall and with a very, very quality baseball conference that they've already got now, they've added Southern Miss into this, which is obviously history and tradition all over that program. It's not to say that, ECU wouldn't think to come in there. I mean, basketball across the spectrum of things is down for everybody, but ECU is not a basketball power either. So it's not like that, anybody takes a hit there. So for baseball, I think it's a very realistic possibility that they'd love to one day be in the Sun Belt and compete with all of these teams that are a lot more regional than what they're seeing there in the American.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you see coming from Coastal this year? I've seen a way too early.
Took the words right out of my mouth. I was just about to ask it. Go ahead, Chris.
If that has them in the top 15, do you think they have enough to make a run this year?
I do. I think if I remember correctly, they kind of struggled a little bit at the beginning of the season with some pitching. They had some younger guys, some inexperienced guys, and obviously as the season went along, that got progressively better. They did take the regular season championship for the Sun Belt. They did not win the Sun Belt Conference tournament, however. That went to Southern Miss, obviously. But it's a team that's just going to be back, right? I mean, they got the history, the tradition with ever since the World Series victory, obviously, but they were pretty good before that anyway, and now they've just kind of stayed on a pretty consistent level. I don't think that Coastal's the type of program that's just going to fall off at any point. I expect them to be right there back at the top battling for the number one spot all season long, especially if that pitching continues to improve. I'm sure they probably even got some transfers to come in because, let's face it, they can. They're at the beach. It's kind of a destination location. So, who hates to get off the mound and then, drive 20 some minutes to the beach? I mean, that'd be a pretty sweet spot to be at. So I think they'll be right back.
Yeah. So refresh our memory real quick. Because I want to take back to last year's Sun Belt Conference championship. So who won that and how exciting was that?
Very exciting. The tournament itself had quite a few surprises. App State ended up beating Troy, who Troy was like putting runs all over the place. So that was like a kind of a surprise there. Coastal going out. I believe they went out to Louisiana. I'm trying to remember this all off the top of my head, but I know Louisiana matched up against Southern Miss in the championship game. And I mean, it wasn't really a shock or surprise to me to see both of those teams there. I think some people might have been a little surprised with the Cajuns getting into that spot, but as Cody well knows, they did take down LSU earlier in the season at the box. So you knew they had some talent. If you're being honest with yourself as a Cajun fan or an outsider who knows traditionally how well they've done in baseball, that was a disappointing season for them. I mean, the LSU win aside, they didn't end up where they really wanted to be. I mean, I don't think they're disappointed that they had a showing in the conference championship game, but I think they wanted a higher seed going in so that they could have, maybe had a different matchup and gone even further than that. But I think that's kind of really where the tournament lied. Even I think, if I remember right, there was two pretty big upsets in the opening round, if I'm not mistaken. So, ODU, it was one of those weird teams last year. So they had a great record overall, 32-23, but they were just 15-15 in Sun Belt play. And so they get to the turn. It's just kind of like they were beating all the teams that they should have beaten outside of the conference. And then when conference play came around, they just struggled pretty well. And to me, that's a good thing, right? To an extent, not for ODU fans, but for the strength of the conference, it shows that you can't just waltz in here, beat the crap out of all these little teams, and then you expect to just do it in your conference. This conference is very talented from top to bottom, minus maybe two or three teams at the bottom, because some 100%. Of those teams are pretty bad.
So let me address this comment real quick about Dartmouth. Dartmouth was actually one of our big featured teams during season 1 of our show for being the worst team in college baseball outside of Northwestern. And they went 3-38 last year. Just want to put that out there. But I have a question for you, Dominick. And I don't want to put you on the spot with asking a player's name, but who would you say are maybe some of like the top prospects for the Major League Draft coming out of the Sun Belt this year?
Yeah.
Oh man.
If any pop up, 'cause I mean, I couldn't name the SECs right now. So.
Top prospects. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't really know any names off the top of my head. But and to quantify that, so I've never been the biggest baseball fan previously. Last season, I really dove in for the first time, so I feel pretty proud of myself for the information I do possess. my 5-year-old got into baseball and started loving it. We go to the Durham Bulls baseball games down the road, so started really dive into baseball and get into it. And I focused on knowing the teams and the conference as a whole a little bit better than the individual players. So there certainly are some, and I would assume that there's a pitcher or two at Coastal Carolina who's probably near the top of that list, just because of history.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I didn't want to throw it on the spot, but I was like, I ask, I guess.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I probably should have at least found 1 or 2 names, but there's some really big home run hitters at Old Dominion. Again, they didn't have the end of the season that they'd hoped to have, but they were knocking them out of the park left and right last year. So, I mean, some of these guys, like it amazed me going to went in person to the Duke App State game because it's right here in town, and I didn't have to travel very far. There's a couple guys on that Duke team that looked like they were pro wrestlers, and I just couldn't believe the size of these baseball players. It's like I mean, the one guy looked like Mark McGuire. I mean, it was incredible, the size of some of these guys. So, yeah, I think that you're going to see the smaller, faster guys across the board in the Sun Belt for the most part, and those bigger programs like you guys get to witness on a more regular basis are going to have these guys that aren't quite on steroids, but might look like they are because of how big they are compared to some of these kids.
Oh, yeah.
So with you saying that last year was really the first year that you really dove into baseball, what would you say to someone that maybe hasn't really watched college baseball about like what were your reasons to get it outside of your child? Like what really drew you into it?
Yeah, so I started the Sun Belt Syndicate for the first time last year and tried to do football coverage because that's what I kind of grew up with, even though I never really fully played the game. And I thought, what do I do to keep this interesting and fun and interactive throughout the whole season? So, I went on obviously to basketball, and I said, man, I don't really know that much about baseball, but I really want to know. I want to learn it. And I'm still, I still got rules I don't understand and positions that I couldn't explain to somebody as far as like what they should do when. But I mean, yeah, my son is the biggest factor, right? I wanted to be able to talk to him about it. I'm never going to be able to coach him, but I wanted to dive in with him. And what was really cool was trying to get myself into it for him and with him. I started turning on, ESPN Plus is a great platform, especially for us smaller school guys. I started watching games with him when I'd come home from work on the weekends, and man, it was like a cool bonding thing. And going live is amazing. I'm a big hockey guy too. A lot of people say hockey doesn't translate to TV. That's kind of how I used to be with baseball until recently, but baseball live is just like the coolest thing. I mean, obviously it's really hot sometimes, but if you can get over that fact, it's one of those sports that you just can't help but get into when you're there in person. And the ping of the bat in college baseball is one of the coolest sounds ever. I love that fact over the pros. So, I mean, it's just the feel of it it's kind of got the football thing to it. Like there's a tradition and a history behind some of the things that these colleges do on a regular basis when they go out to the field, chants that teams are doing. It's gotten me to interact with other fan bases because I've been trying to get into it and understand some things and maybe trash talk a little bit, but mostly just like what's going on. How do, I tried to get to some games outside of my area last year. It didn't work out too much. But yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful to visit some of these places. Louisiana's a place that they tell me like, you've got to come see a game live. So hopefully I can get down there to take one in. I've seen football down there, but hopefully, yeah.
Their crowd, when they play LSU, the pregame, it is the most hostile thing you can witness. They legitimately hate LSU. Yes. And I'm talking about if an LSU fan was on fire, they would use gasoline to put them out or try to put or actually just increase it. But they hate them that much. And I love that. I love that. It's right. Passion. It's just weird. And it's unmatched.
The Twitter battle after that game was done was phenomenal. And they call you guys
absolutely.
TSAB. Yeah. Or the team across the basin, I guess, whatever those letters break down to. Yeah, I never heard that much before last year. And all of a sudden it just blew up and I'm like, what does this mean? What does this mean? So just learning all these things and like the history, tradition of the rivalries that are right there, man, it helps keeps you like in between games. Like it's just go and experience the stuff on social media. I mean, like you said, there's obviously some ugly out there, right? But there's also some just funny interactions. I think I interacted with the most Cajun and Southern Miss fans I've ever interacted with during baseball season. And some of those people love the fact I was just getting on and like talking about scores. I wasn't giving X's and O's in baseball because I can't. And they just loved and appreciated the fact someone cared. So it was cool to see that and feel that. And it makes me want to come back and do it more and do what you guys have been doing and doing it so well. So, I mean, it's awesome.
I'm very. I do have one request for you.
Yeah.
So you see Jody put it in the comments, show the App State baseball field picture.
Yeah.
There's a picture floating around of the App State baseball field in the autumn. We don't actually have that picture on hand right now, but could you describe what that looks like in your own words?
Yeah. So, like I said, the field there itself, I think everything but the pitcher's mound and batter's box, or maybe just the batter's box, is all artificial turf. So it's bright green and, the brown of the turf, just really consistent, bright color. And then everything around there is got your leaves because it's all trees. It's up there in the woods at the top of it's actually higher elevated than the football stadium. So it's actually a little bit higher up.
It's in Boone, North Carolina, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Right,
so it's got browns, yellows, oranges, every leaf reds. I mean, it's amazing to see it. Now, here's the downside. All of that is gone when baseball season starts. There's no leaves on trees. There's no color up there. It's all dead. And so the disappointing part is, as beautiful as that picture is, and like it blows up every time it gets shared on social media, but as beautiful as it is, it's like the baseball team doesn't even get to see that. The fans don't come up and get to kind of experience that. I mean, they got fall ball here. I don't even know if they're hosting it because of obviously the weather already changing up there in the mountains, getting pretty cold. But yeah, I mean, it's quite the setting. I just wish that we could have that kind of color and explosion of color during actual baseball season to show it off to the masses. And I think a lot more people would come to some App State baseball games if that's what it looked like when they showed up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Dominick, I appreciate you coming on, man. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on. And I'm sure we will have you on later.
Absolutely.
As the season gets going, because we'll have this special. We may have another special right before the season kind of kicks off. But I felt it was good to get it on and try to take a break from a little bit of football. We get kind of wrapped up in the monotony.
Yes.
So good to have you on, man. If you guys will hang with us, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back right here on the Golden Broom podcast. Get in the comments and let us know your thoughts on the upcoming baseball season and all that good stuff. So we're gonna hear from Bones Coffee, and we'll be right back with you.
What's the difference between these two identical cups of coffee? Everything. Everything. Boring, basic coffee is leaving you dead inside. Thank the Dark Lord, there's Bones Coffee. Small batch, full-bodied coffee infused with the most mind-melting flavors in the world. Or underworld.
Oh, I've had flavored coffee
before.
I've had
flavored coffee before. You haven't had Welcome to the highly caffeinated, slightly wicked, and immortally delicious world of Bones. Our mad coffee scientists have twisted nature to their demented wills.
It's alive!
With frightfully delicious flavors like from dusk till donuts.
It's a taste I can really sink my teeth into.
Mint invaders.
I don't mean to probe, but how did you make this coffee taste like ice cream?
And electric unicorn.
Like eating fruity cereal. Yeah!
At Bones Coffee, we'll try just about every flavor combo out there.
Cannolis, salted pretzels, strawberry cheesecake.
The ones we love are made into small batches, roasted to order, and delivered directly to you. But the others? Rest in peace, Beanfish. We've got over 30 killer concoctions, so French press that link to find your new flavored coffee. There's more to life than pumpkin spice. But yeah, we smashed that pumpkin too. We also have comforting classic coffee if the flavored stuff is too scary. At Bones, our beans are complex and multidimensional.
I have opinions.
Which makes for rich, smooth, jaw-droppingly good Joe. Stop drinking hot bean water and resurrect your caffeine routine. You can Bones at home, Bones at work, or Bones during your commute. Go to bonescoffee.com and check out our thousands of spooktacular 5-star reviews. If committing to one flavor gives you the heebie-jeebies, try our sample packs, a shocking selection of our most hauntingly delicious blends. Or join the coffee club and get new flavors delivered as often as you'd like. It's time to break from boring. Click the link to get yourself a bag of Bones today.
Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some.
Gano Seasoning, food's favorite flavor.
Yum, yum, get you some.
I'm Joe Burrito, your favorite burrito. Whoa, whoa.
Joe,
Hey.
we all know you're the best.
What?
But you can always do better.
What you got?
Try the new Dano's Hot Chipotle.
Hey. Ooh, that's spicy. Yum, yum.
Yum, yum, get you some.
You're muted, George.
Thank you. It froze for a second there. It was not my problem.
Right.
I didn't do it on purpose. But it looks like we are just about set here. I believe we have Coach Hamley on. My bad, I just butchered that name. And Chris, I'm going to let you introduce him. I'm going to go ahead and bring him on.
So
Welcome in, man.
Yeah, wanted to welcome Coach Cam Hamsley. He's the head coach at Roane State Community College here in Tennessee. Wanted to get some coaches and players on here, and he was gracious enough to oblige us in our first endeavor of interviewing a coach. So, Coach, welcome to the Golden Broom Show.
Well, thank you guys for having me. I've made it. I've officially made it. So you guys are not my first kind of live speaking engagement in the virtual form, but definitely excited to shake it up with you guys tonight.
Awesome.
Well, we're excited to have you on, man. This is our second season, so to speak, just kind of learning the ropes, and we figured it'd be good to take a little break from the monotony of football, right? Football season's in gear. And kind of gets a little teaser of the baseball season. Coach Hamsley, I wanted to ask you, for those who aren't familiar with Roane State Community College and your guys' baseball program, take us through the daily life of what players go through, how you kind of game plan, and just give us an overview of what Roane State Community College baseball is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for asking. Depends on what time of the year it is. I'll give you today, for example. Today started our Grand Junction Challenge, which is Grand Junction is where the NJCAA, National Junior College Athletic Association, the NJCAA College World Series is in Grand Junction, Colorado. So obviously that idea, it's not mine. No idea that I come up with is necessarily on, it's Omaha Challenge started with Vanderbilt, Tim Corbin and the guys over at Vanderbilt started doing that. And so we started our Grand Junction Challenge this week. So I had the guys up at school at 6 a.m. And one of the events I had to do to start it back is a team Indian run. So if you've ever done an Indian run, you run for a little while and then the guy in the back has got to chase his way all the way up to the front before the next guy can start and the whole team's got to get through. So they had to do that early this morning. And they got to go home for a couple days during fall break last week because we ended our fall ball season And when they got back, one thing, kind of the mantra I've been having with this team is like, you guys are winners. We're uncommon. We're trying to live above the bar, and good to have you back. You guys forgot what it felt like to be uncommon and to be winners. And so we're up early this morning. You went home, you spent time with your loved ones, but you probably got a little bit of loser in you. So we got to get you back on the winning column. So we did that this morning, and then had class. All the guys have class usually 8 to 3 o'clock. I went around and did classroom checks, and then we talk about if you're not on time, if you're on time, you're late. So just trying to teach them good habits to be good adults. And then had an afternoon obstacle course, which was their second Grand Junction Challenge thing, and basically just had to do a really grueling kind of like a CrossFit style workout. So and I get that from my wife. My wife does CrossFit. She's a ripped, an absolute smoke show of muscles. So I take any advice she gives me on the exercise and food and diet side of things, and try to pass it on to my guys. So, but that's kind of like a normal day. Today is like, we try to keep them busy from morning till as late as we can, because I don't handle the Devil's Workshop and at Roane State. There's, we're an outskirt of Knoxville, but there's not, those kids are coming there to go to school, but they wouldn't choose there if they, weren't fired up to play baseball and then try to continue to play beyond Roane State. So that was today. They got to have a busy day today.
Okay. Man. Okay. So we know that you're a head coach at a small community college up in East Tennessee. We need to know more from you. Tell us how it all started. I mean, what got you interested in the game of baseball? Where are some places you played, some coaches you played for, and how did you end up at Roane State?
I like it. So the tree is, how do most coaches become coaches? They were either really, really phenomenal players, and after they got done, it kind of led them to there, or you have the guys who either had a bad injury or just really weren't that good. I think I had a mix of both. And I kind of had a bad timing of an injury my senior year of high school. And I started, just doing anything I could to really stay involved. And I had my coach at the time. I was planning on going to Austin P. Still went there, but I had a coach at the time, Michael Brown, who is now the head baseball coach at Brentwood Academy, over closer to some of you guys. Amazing coaches. They always joke about, like, as years go by, you end up, really gaining more and more respect for those coaches you had, or kind of understanding more about why they did things the way they did and how they did things. And he's one of those. I love him to death. And he started telling me stuff like, you would be really good at coaching. And I didn't want to hear it, at the time. And so, I tried to go off and do some other things like be an eye doctor or something. And I was like, that's not for me. I'm then finally commit to, like, hey, the Lord's plan for me is to be a coach. And people would ask me, like, what do you want to do? And I would be like, I'm going to be a baseball coach. They're like, how are you going to make money? I'm going to be a baseball coach, So obviously there's avenues, but I just really just chased it wholeheartedly, and went to school at Austin P, started getting into coaching. And then I was able to work with Justin Martin at Springfield High School, and then Michael Brown, and just a lot of awesome coaches. And in the meantime, I got a job at Old Hickory Bat Company, which is Mike Trout, Los Angeles Angels. I know Shohei's getting all the hype right now, but he swings Old Hickory bats. If you're watching any of the MLB playoffs, like JT Realmuto, Old Hickory bat guy, so like he's swinging that for the Phillies right now against the Diamondbacks. There's some other guys on there that, but it was just cool because I got in the mix of getting to help, the supply chain of baseball. So you can tell how much I love it. I'm trying to even get into that side of it. And it just kind of led me to wanting to get into college baseball. And I had kind of one guy connect me with another guy who happened to be the head coach at Roane State. And again, just kind of jumped at it wholeheartedly and got to spend about a year and a half on staff as kind of a recruiting coordinator, helping him. And then like a week before the season started, around that COVID time, he
what a lovely time that was, huh?
Yeah, phenomenal. He took the pitching coach job at Tennessee Wesleyan, and they were like, "Hey, it's yours." And I think at the time I had this like stupid confidence that you know, like, oh, this nobody better. Like I'm going to dominate this. But I'm going into year three and a half now of being a head coach, and you know, I learn something new every day. Love the kids, try to be the best I can for them. You know, continuing to grow, build off those things for them. But I would say every single year I've gotten better and better, just at what I do and how I do it, and just learning every year. So, but yeah, I hope that gives you a good idea of like where I've been, where I've started. You know, stretches from Clarksville to Springfield to Hendersonville, and then eventually over here to East Tennessee, which is, you know, Roane State is about an hour past Cookeville. You got to pass the Buc-ee's somewhere in between there, and then another 30 minutes gets you to Knoxville. So,
man. Well, I love that, and we appreciate you being so open with us. I do have a question though. Okay, is you being a actual, you know, real life head coach at a baseball program? Talk to the couch coaches, all right, that sit at home and think they know more than the head coach, and explain to them like how it's different and what they don't see versus what you can see.
Well, I will tell you, if I'm not the one in the dugout, I'm a couch coach too. I'm a really good one. So I'm right there with you guys. I guess the best way to put it is just nobody knows their guys better than the coach does. And you know, like every decision they make it with you know, a heavy sense of, you know, care and seriousness and like weighing out all those options, you know. And I would just say it's crazy to me, especially on the baseball side, but I know it's got to be the same for football coaches.
Oh,
if I'm sitting in the dugout right now,
Yeah.
if I was in the dugout right now, compared to if I took 5 steps to my right and sat in a seat,
yeah,
it's like there's 2 different brains inside there, you know, like it's like a completely different person, because it's like when the pressure goes from you and here to now the pressure's not on you. So you just get to sit back and make. And so that is something I try to take, you know. I do tell the guys, I'm like, look, when you win, like all the glory's on you. I want you to take it all. When you lose, you know, it's on me. I hope you would take a lot of ownership and care, because if you don't, we're not going to be very good. But like, I will take that and carry that, because, you know, it's my job, it's my livelihood. So I've got to do everything possible to make sure, you know, we're putting the best product on the field. But I try in my mind on a game day, like I want my guys to be loose. So I'm very loose, and I remind myself in my head, like, is anybody hurt? Is anybody dying? The answer is no, you know, like no pressure, just do the first thing that comes to your mind, you know? So, so I sit in there and just kind of try to take that approach of like, you know, I've coached my team well, so the pressure is not on me. The pressure is on somebody else. And it is hard. It is so hard to be, you know, in a coaching role. But I promise you, if I'm not the one that's in the dugout, I'm doing the same thing you guys are. What an idiot! You know, you suck.
I feel you.
You know, just saying stuff like that. But
yeah.
But I get it, and you know, it's definitely a blessing. I'm super blessed. You know, but it does come with a lot of responsibility, and I think that's why, you know, every coach that's in the seat will tell you got to be okay with not being liked. You got to be very confident and true and understanding of who you are, and know thyself. And you also got to have a really, really good support system when you're in that space, because you're always, no matter what decision you make, the right one, the wrong one, you know, like you're never going to make everybody happy. And there's always going to be a fan or somebody out there that wanted you to do more. So
yeah,
that's a good question.
It's interesting that you say you got to have that support system. So we all know that facility or levels of college baseball, the transportation isn't the greatest. So tell us, it's late at night, dark 30. You're on that long bus ride home after a bad loss.
Yeah.
Who is the one person that you call to tell you that it's all been worth it?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I would obviously, say every time I'm on my way home, I'm usually thinking I can't wait to get home to my wife. So my wife Rose is awesome. She's great about it. I usually always check in with my parents because both of them, it doesn't matter. To me, it matters a lot, but to them, it could be 99-0 or win lose, doesn't matter. Like they're just super proud and all that stuff. So those are probably the people, probably my wife and my parents. And you're right. The different levels of baseball. Like we're MLB playoffs are on, getting ready for the fall classic, but you've got news of very competitive baseball, and really the transfer portal and some things going on there have made it, even more competitive. But, you have junior college baseball, which I think is growing in popularity. And I think, depending on who you're talking to, it can still be like misunderstood. You have NAIA, Division III, II, and Division I, NCAA. So just tons of routes to go for people. If you want to play, you can find somewhere to play without a doubt. Now, I don't think like if you're good, they will find you is necessarily fully correct. But if you want to play, you can find somewhere to play. You may have to pay a lot to play there, but you can find somewhere to play. So, you go back to talking about the late night stuff. Like we take 2 14-passenger shuttles. We take them to games. I drive one. My assistant coach drives the other. I do want to give a shout out to him, Garrett Dalton. He played at Columbia State for 2 years. He played at Hiawassee before Hiawassee closed down, and he's been quite the journeyman on the playing side. And I would just say like that's another secret to this job is like have really, really good help, have really loyal, people around you that that work hard and just you trust them because they're doing a lot to make it look good. So I did want to give a shout out to him for sure.
Awesome.
So I've got a question. What are some of your core values as a coach?
Oh, big time question. I was waiting for that one. So again, I would say I didn't come up with, any of this stuff, but it's like every coach kind of takes their own kind of, spice to stuff. Right. I talk with my guys a lot about, a couple different things. One is living above the bar. So I want them always to understand that they're not normal. They're not just, the average, they are above average. And I explain that to them and like, you don't need to think you're better than people in the way of like treating them, inappropriately or not, with kindness and love and all those things. But I said at Roane State, like I am bringing you here because we are trying to live above the bar. What does that mean to us? Well, we use the words we and us, right? We're a team, so we use we and us. Well, what does that mean to us? Well, the W stands for winners. We're winners. When my team breaks it down, they break it down on winners. When I see them to start the day, I go, winners, what's up? I want to make sure they understand they are winners as much as I possibly can. So that's something I've started this fall. It's not, something I've always done, but it's again the kind of evolving of coaching. The E in the word we stands for earned. I don't want my guys to have anything they don't earn. So I make them earn every piece of gear, every, like reward they kind of get. Like I want them to earn it. So, we talk about like if we don't earn it, like we don't want it. Like if it's not hard, if it doesn't suck a little bit, we don't want to do it doesn't really make us better if it's not challenging to us. So, so we stands for winners and earned. Us, the U and us stands for uncommon. We're trying to be better than your everyday average run of the mill college baseball player. The teams we play against, even the people I'm trying to build way after, so we talk about being uncommon. Well, what do uncommon people do to set themselves apart? So that kind of gives me a chance to core value branch into other things. And the S, you'll like this one. The S stands for savages. So the reason I say savages is because my goal, and again, it's just stuff that I've read that I really liked, is we will work harder than you. We don't care to get dirty and really, get in the mud to do things that are hard, but also like we're going to outlast you. It's kind of just the mantra of, like we would rather it be not flashy. We would rather it be not the nicest things, because again, just go back to that. Well, I'm at Roane State to win, and I'll do, what I have to do to win. Yeah. And if it was easy, if it was flashy, if it was joyful all the time, I talk like this fall. Fall is such an important time because, and in other sports like football, the spring is an important time, right? Because you're trying to kind of leave that message of pay now. We're going to pay for this now. We're going to write this chapter right now. So we don't have to pay for it later in the spring. I've had to learn that the hard way. Why? Because I'm a very young head coach that's, been given great opportunity, but also I'm just hard-headed. Like I've got, unfortunately, a mindset that's like, if someone says, no, you can't do it that way, like everybody knows you can't do it that way. In my mind, I think, no. Nobody else can do it that way, but I can do it. Like I will do it this way. So I have had to learn things like that the hard way. But I do think it's helped me, like I wouldn't change a thing on some of the hard times I've had that have kind of built into the coach that I wanted us to be. So core values, we and us. And that really, I think, is going to take us far this year. Because like Roane State program progression is since I've taken over as the head coach has been a struggle, but I've gotten really good at making sure we finish really well. So we won a tournament game in 2014 for the first time. Last year we won 2 tournament games at Roane State for the first time since 1999. Like I was like 6 years old. So like the end part is easy to me. Like I can do the things that maybe gets a team hot at the end. What I want to improve on, and it goes back to the core values, the we and the us, is building something strong enough to where the kids care so much that they can be really consistent from beginning of season to the end, and they still get hot at the end, So, but yeah, if you ask me core values, I kind of try to bring everything back to living above the bar, and then the words we and the words us that I can kind of branch out into some other directions.
Okay. That's awesome. I want to go to the comments real quick because I don't know if you've Coach Jody Robinson, Mr. National Championship himself, has been following the show for a while. We've had him on, but he had a good question here. Do you have financial aid? How many games do you play regular season? How many fall games and how many hours a week do you practice? If you could kind of fit that into a condensed answer there, that'd be awesome.
So you have already figured out, like, if you let me talk, I'm going to talk all night. So
good. That's what we want. We can be here all night, man. That's it.
I'm going to try to be direct. So if you'll just keep that up on the screen or take it down, flash it, whatever, just so I can remember. So do we have financial aid? Yes. The answers I'd give you is Bill Haslam, phenomenal governor. Why? Because he gave us Tea and Hope and Promise. So what does that do for students in Tennessee? It says every student, if they can qualify by doing XYZ, has the opportunity to get tuition-free junior college, right? So such a beneficial thing because, one, it helps me in the way of kind of building my team. And also it just helps the students in general. So every one of my guys knows, okay, well, if I'm going to Roane State, most of my guys are not local they're coming from Middle Tennessee or West Tennessee, or I
Right.
have 3 kids from Canada, 1 from Venezuela, 1 from Arizona, 3 from California. Like whether they're out of state or in state, there's a lot of different routes. The in-state kids, they can take advantage of Teen Hope and Promise for tuition. And then again, you really want to kind of play the route of your recruiting. You want to get good kids in here, but you also want them to earn it. So you may, like there's guys I'll give a little bit to start to help with, books or housing and things like that. But you really want to leave enough on the table for them to earn it going into their second year. Because those are your impact. Those are going to be your impact guys anyways. But you just want to put enough on the table, for your new guys to be like, hey, I want you here. I need you here. At the junior college level, D1 junior college, you can have 24 guys on a NLI at one single time, not NIL, NLI, which is National Letter of Intent. So they can be receiving some sort of money at one time, and your roster is more than that. So your roster is usually around 30 guys in baseball. So at minimum, you're going to have 7 or 8 guys that are just there off tuition, and they're having to kind of cover their living costs and things like that.
Sure.
But Teen Hope and Promise is a big one. I do have a small scholarship budget I can use. If you are, bringing diversity to Roane State's college campus, we have access and diversity scholarships that students can apply for. And then usually most of your international students are out of state, or even students from Appalachia can apply for, like access and diversity money, because, as long as the justification is maybe you're, coming to Roane State and you're unique to the population and are adding value there. So there's a lot of different ways. They still can get student loans and take out those student loans just like everybody else. But kind of the goal is we're hopeful that they will get to do the least amount of that in hopes that it encourages them to, get a college education in some form or fashion, whether, it starts out as an associate's and moves to a bachelor's, or just get an associate's and it allows them to get some of that, core training to be able to maybe get to a higher level in the job they want to be in. That's a good question on financial aid. Games. We're allowed to play 14 dates in the fall. So usually most junior college coaches are using those to schedule doubleheaders, playing as much as they can on those dates. And then you're allowed to play 56 games in the spring, and it is a grind. Last spring, 56 games, what you're allowed. We played 38 of those on the road. So just terrible schedule for me.
God almighty, I can't even
all the
imagine.
time in the vans and the shuttles that he's asking about.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, but yeah, so allowed to play a lot, but that's what a lot of the kids are there for. Like they are there to play, and so being able to play 2 seasons, the fall season, development time, and really, wear that out. And then spring 56 games after you kind of set your stuff. So like maybe the fall, you've got a roster of 60 guys that are there for baseball. So, like this fall, I think I had 63 guys that were at Roane State for baseball and they're competing. My job's to be very upfront with those guys about hey, doesn't matter who you are. Like we're about to have our fall meetings where I talk to them about how fall ball went with them. I'm going to hurt some feelings, not intentionally, not on purpose, not because I want to, but just because you bring in 60 guys and they all think they're the best ones there, right? I love that too. I want that competitive edge, but some of them, it's the first time in their life they're not the best player on the team. And you have to kind of help communicate that, or how can they get better, use your buildup of fall stats, which I will tell you, it's really, a tough world we live in to say my sample size for, at least a true freshman or a transfer that maybe it's my first time seeing him. If I've got 2 years, it's different, but my sample size off maybe where a guy fits in our program is off 14 games in the fall. Well, I've had a really bad 14-game stretch in my life. I've had a rough season. Maybe I wasn't playing my best ball. So that's really tough, but I try to use stats and really a lot of different tools to evaluate those things. But yeah, sorry, I know I go off on some tangents, but I hope I got all those questions answered.
You got every one of them. That was perfect. That was great. Go ahead, Chris.
I actually have a follow-up to that.
Yeah.
So with COVID, it's created this situation in D1 baseball where you have the extra years of eligibility, the super seniors, and it's created a backlog that's filtering down to the junior college level. How has NIL, the transfer portal, and COVID collectively affected your recruiting?
Or can you answer that question?
Yeah, I mean, you can tell by my sigh. I'm like, oh gosh, there's so many things I can say.
Yeah,
COVID has affected it because the game in general has just gotten older. So now it's taken away opportunities, and also like benefited some, but it's just based off how you look at it. Like now I'm now getting the kid playing for me that probably would have signed to go to a 4-year school before, because now there's still guys left from COVID that are still playing, so they can't have that extra guy on their roster now, or they're not taking that high school kid because they know if he's unhappy after year one and he's not playing, he's going to go in the portal anyways because he can if he wants to. And they're probably going to try to go recruit a kid that's 3 or 4 years older than him anyways, because why would you not want a kid that's got 3 or 4 more years of experience, life experience, playing experience, just in general, right? And sometimes it's twofold. Sometimes it's, well, why is the kid hopping around so much or whatever the case may be. But it's just kind of something where it's affected, like the level of talent that I'm getting now is better, that I'm able to recruit, but so is everybody I'm competing against. I would also say, before, maybe lesser, still talented, still good players, but maybe lesser players would have the opportunity to play college baseball. But now they're not getting to, or maybe they are, but not in the same role or experience they would have had, because again, you've got guys still left over from COVID that are still playing. So it's backlogged. Everything's trickle down effect. And then, but it is college athletics. So it's going to be kind of cruel and nasty at times anyways, because the best are, according whatever a coach thinks, at least, whatever that head coach thinks his best players, he's going to put his best on the field. His job is to win those games. So the COVID's been a huge impact. The transfer portal, I would say, it's crazy to me, how many kids maybe went to a 4-year school and then decided to hop in the portal, or maybe they talked to their coach and their coach was like, hey, it would be better if you look for somewhere else to play. And then they can't find anywhere to play. Like there's nowhere else that wants them either. So it's just it's a crazy time. It's a crazy time. Yeah. But anyways, I say to people, the best way is like, you better love it. Like you better love to play, not just love the game, but you better love it, because, now the way it is, it's the opportunity's not there to go everywhere. Not everybody can play at Vanderbilt, never have been able to, not everybody can play at UT. But now those margins have just started to shrink even more, just because of the nature of the world we live in. Yeah.
Right. So I got a couple more questions for you before we get you out of here. The first one, how about what are your expectations going forward for 2024? What do you think your season's going to look like? Is it postseason or bust, or what's your outlook?
I like that. I've kind of put like a vision together for my program, and I think last year I started to put it together to where they know like this is what we do, this is where we're going, and what are those expectations? Well, this year, I believe we can shoot to be a 30-plus win ball club, that's kind of like a good marker because that's just over 5. If you play 56 games, that's going to be just over 500. But at the same time, like it has a chance to really make an impact on your guys and your season, kind of gives them something to shoot for. So that's good. Then also another kind of vision they have is we want to have a winning record versus non-conference opponents. So that's a plus. And then one I put together this year is we want to finish top 4 in conference. We've never done that. It's been a long time since we've done that. So, but we want to finish top 4 because what that does for you is that guarantees you a home game, not necessarily a home field home game, but you're in the third base dugout, right? At the conference tournament. And that's a big deal because when you get to that point, it's playoff baseball. You guys saw what happened to the Braves this year. They were the best team all year.
Gosh.
Yes, sir.
It's about who's hottest at the end. The Phillies are,
I feel like that happens in Arkansas every year, but that's anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things. It's every sport, but really baseball. Teams get so hot, and so having those little advantages even makes such a huge difference. So finishing top 4, and then after that, it kind of goes conference championship game, district championship, going to Grand Junction. Like we still talk about those things, while at the same time, I kind of stay on my guys on the Bill Belichick. Like, why are we not just worried about getting better today? Like, why are we talking about the playoffs? Get better today. The rest is going to take care of itself. Like, we want to rack up small wins. So, if I go off on a tangent, I'm going to tell you about like I wake up early, I work out, I'm 1-0. I took the dog on a walk, 2-0. Like I made my lunch, I prepped it instead of going for fast food. I'm now 3-0. Now I'm 3-0 against you today. I've beat you 3 times already. So like we talk about the small wins thing, or just like let's win, let's get better today. But I do hope that was a good response to that question.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, Bill Belichick, you got the hoodie going for you. So
I know, right? Right.
I love it. Hey, Jody had another question for you, and this is do you have a GoFundMe or email for donations?
Yeah, that's a good question. We usually the easiest way I would just say is you go on like Roane State Athletics and Google Roane State Athletics donate, and it can go directly to our foundation. Or you can always just contact me about like Roane State Baseball, address 276 Patton Lane, Harriman, Tennessee, 37748. You send it there, and it's going to get dropped in my box, and I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to be like, oh, wow, gosh. But there's definitely one thing I always tell the kids, too, is, when it comes to, like, donations and things like that, like, I want to put it into them right now, and it's not – in a reckless way. It's a very mindful way. I usually get with my athletic director and really kind of talk through some things, but I look for ways to put it directly into the team I have right now compared to like saving up for per se future teams. And then we have some little small pockets of, same thing. You budget your money. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to take a little bit of this here and I'm going to put it towards this. You talk about like infield turf and little things like that are little add-ons, but then it eventually gets you to your bigger goal. And then also too, like I usually ask people, if they're donating, like what would you like to see us have? I have answers all day about things that I know we need that can benefit us, but
it's awesome.
So thank you for that too. That was a good question.
Okay, and my last question for me. So I know your mother.
Yes.
I've had some of her cooking before.
Yes.
When you go home to visit, what is the one meal that you have to have? And tell me why it's going to be the Rotel chicken spaghetti.
Oh man!
See, he set you up. He already chose it for you.
Good one. Well, I will say, I was very blessed to grow up in a house that I never went hungry. I'll tell you that, and it still haunts me sometimes today. But my mother is a food pusher, but it's all with goodness and kindness in her heart. And I would say, if you ask that question to me, yes, the chicken spaghetti, you're onto something special there. But I would say she makes this taco casserole, and I'm a sucker for it. So when I go home, that's usually a big one for me. But I appreciate you asking that. That's a good question too.
All right, Cody, you got anything for us?
Honestly, I think I have one last question. And
go for it, Cody.
We kind of talked about it, but what's your pitch to the community to gain their support for your athletic program?
Yeah. Well, Roane County in general, is a very rural area, and it's a community that's got a lot of smaller high schools like a Harriman, Rockwood, Midway, Oliver Springs, Oneida, and Sunbright, and Kingston, and it's just like all these really small schools from these smaller communities. And one thing is I try to always make sure I'm following up with those coaches, and if I have an opportunity to bring in those kids, even if maybe their role, or maybe it doesn't, maybe they're not my everyday guy or my impact player, but making sure they have a good experience. That's kind of some of the things that kind of bleed into the interest. And then I think too, with us not being a big team, we have to get out in the community. And if we get out in the community, that's literally the biggest thing we can do is me take my kids and go have them, march in a Christmas parade or go shake hands and do high fives at Kingston Elementary, to kind of show the kids an example of students going to school after, they get done with elementary, high school, things like that. Helping with little, projects around the community. That's the best thing I can do to kind of gain interest is show my product. And that's what I'm trying to build is my team is the product we are selling. And so I'm trying to sell quality student athletes, young men that are, making an impact. And I'd say that's the best way to answer that question is got to get the guys out there to spark any interest whatsoever. So.
Right.
Sure.
Well, Coach, it's been a pleasure having you on. I do have one last question, if you would. I know that you have to focus on Roane State baseball, and I know that's a constant thing. But we're three SEC guys. We got an LSU guy in here, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, myself. What do you like? Do you guys and you are? I mean, are you baseball fans? Do you pay attention to Omaha? Do you do that kind of thing during the season?
I mean,
let me interrupt him first. I believe that I've heard that he has a goal of wearing some orange and white later on in the future. I could be wrong, but go ahead and answer that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, I follow it. If I get home from practice or a game. I'm streaming the ESPN app on my TV, and I'm watching everything from Tennessee Tech, and I think, that's something I do want to take another second to obviously I admire a lot of coaches, but Tennessee Tech and Coach Braga, and that's they've had some limelight, MTSU baseball, great experience. Jeff Forehands, the coach at Lipscomb, he does an awesome job. Coach Jarvis at Belmont, that program's amazing. Roland Fanning, Austin P. And then you got some smaller schools like Lee University and Trevecca that do awesome things. We're not going to forget Vanderbilt because I love, I would be crazy to say that I'm not sitting there and following both Vanderbilt baseball and Tennessee baseball like crazy. Yeah. It is hard. It's hard for me as I'm a Tennessee fan, always have been, always will be. But it's hard because I grew up too in a time where Vanderbilt baseball kind of became its thing. So it's one of those weird things where I follow and really do root for Vanderbilt baseball, except for when Tennessee's playing Vanderbilt. So, that's what I would say to anybody is just, baseball is, you got to have a taste for it, but there's something really, really special about, getting out to a ball game or watching like some of these rivalries in baseball and just kind of learning the sport and seeing like what awesome coaches and the excitement that the players and stuff. And that's what I try to, even impart on my guys. It's like they are young men that are playing like a child's game, and I really do enjoy when they are able to just go out there like inside this diamond, where it's almost like not a different world, but it's like they get to go out there and play and compete at like a really high level and be competitive and like learn life skills about like who they are going to be and like what kind of makes them tick. And it's awesome. I love it. I get to sit there and like help them, do those things, but it gets me fired up, and I love seeing teams and like what kind of personality they're going to take on. And, like some of that is part of, kind of the identity, that a coach is setting as a standard, but also like, even personally, like the relationships or the type of guys you have and how they're connecting with their teammates. And every year's a different journey. And, I'm definitely, going to continue to tell people how awesome baseball is just in the state of Tennessee in general at every single level. So,
well, I love it, man. Baseball, for me, it attracted me because it is any given Saturday or Tuesday or whenever your team is playing that you may be riding the highest of highs, and all of a sudden you walk right into a Mack truck because it's baseball is a game of inches, right? We talk about it. And until I started watching it, I didn't really understand what that meant. I understand what that means now, especially when you're inches from catching a fly ball to seal the national championship. I won't go into that. But anyway, being an Arkansas fan, that's where my mind always goes. Well, Coach, it's been a pleasure. Man, we got to have you on again. This was awesome. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. We'll wrap this thing up, and if you'll hang around, we want to chat with you just a bit after the show, if that's okay.
I just want to say, Jay, George, you and Chris, obviously, get in contact with me. I'm super grateful to come on here with you guys and just kind of be able to get to know y'all, share the message of what we're doing at a small junior college in East Tennessee to try and build men and win some championships. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Hey, absolutely. Our goal is to grow the game any way possible. So
if you notice on our stream here, we've got the logo for In Off the Bench podcast. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but that's three dudes just like me and George and Cody that are just trying to grow the game. They bring in coaches and players and interview them too. They've been doing it for 3 or 4 years now. They're really good at, and we support them. And Randy Jowers, one of their hosts, was actually going to come on and do a spot with us tonight, but he had some things come up. So
I'll leave you guys with this. I tell my guys, sometimes you always got to be your true self, right? So sometimes we'll have a bad game or something will go wrong. Maybe we win, but I do something silly, and I'm like, sometimes you got to overcome the coaching. Boys, I'm sorry about that, but sometimes with you guys, sometimes I just got to overcome the bad interviewers, right?
Yeah,
right. I feel you.
Man, Coach, we appreciate it.
I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Hey, absolutely. And we'll definitely get you back on here, Coach. Thanks.
Cool. See ya.
Yep.
Man, that was awesome. Where do you go from there?
I guess you just close it out because I can't top that. That was good stuff right there.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna close it out tonight real quick. I want everyone in the comments. This is something that I found here. This is the way too early 2024 top 25, and I want to get your thoughts on this real fast. We have number 1 LSU. Obviously, you win the national championship, you deserve to be there. Florida in at number 2, Arkansas in at number 3 with the number 1 recruiting class. Wake Forest behind them, TCU right there in at number 5, and Vandy at 6. I know, Chris, you talked about it earlier. You got some portal enters and transfers and all that stuff. And then Tennessee is at number 7. So pretty good list. There's a lot of SEC schools in here, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like 5. Well, Texas next year will be in the SEC, so I guess we can count them.
I'm saying 8
or 8. Yeah, you got South Carolina and Mississippi State.
Not counting Texas.
Not counting Texas. That's right. There is 8 there. But yeah, I'm excited. I think this season is going to be incredible. Gamecocks are too low at number 10. Andrew, I know. Listen, they're not number 10. Oh, you want them at number 10. Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. I got confused there for a minute. Awesome. Well, that wraps about it. That gets us out of here. I can't wait. I mean, just an awesome special. I can't even ask for anything more. So we will wrap this thing up. Thanks so much for watching. We will catch you next time. Be tuning in. I'm going to ask you again, make sure you follow us on College Baseball Dogs. There'll be more of this coming, and we'll have a schedule come out. We'll probably start the actual Golden Broom Show after the national championship of football a couple weeks after. So just follow us from there. We appreciate everybody in the comments. Everybody have a great rest of your night.